Manor Lords, we need to talk. Hello again there, friends and fans. Raptor here, and welcome to a somewhat of a tutorial video, but also a breakdown of the recent release for Manor Lords in all ways, shapes, and forms. This game is outstanding, but of course, it's early access, and there's a lot missing here, a lot that's broken, a lot that will eventually change in the future. And I don't want to alert anybody and have anyone panic or think that I don't like this game or that it didn't live up to the hype. In fact, I think it yet has to live up to its hype, and the opportunity to do so is there. It's not a letdown. It's more of a let's get going. So without further ado, let's get going. Thanks again for subscribing to the channel, by the way. Thank you very much for becoming members and subscribers. And let's jump in as I give you some tips and tricks if you've been playing Manor Lords, but also let's talk about this game, a little post-mortem of its release. Although it is nowhere near dead, it is a fantastic game that is full of life, and I can't wait to see where it goes from here. This is a great game. Now, let there be no confusion. I love this one and can't recommend it enough. Truly, I think this is an outstanding city builder. So, let's go and learn a little bit more about Manor Lords. Well, this is great. An enemy army is on the way, and we're basically at the final battle of the game. And right now, currently, in this version, archers are not working as they're fully intended. They essentially do no damage with their range attack, but they can do damage if you happen to, fight them in melee. Now, right now, we're at kind of an area in the hardest difficulty of the game where we've got the enemy completely surrounded. Like, this is his last territory, and he hasn't really attempted to fight back until now, to where there's some really weird and confusing things going on. So first of all, that tip, about archers. Certainly in the game, you're more than welcome to make arrows and bows and be able to sell them, but I wouldn't really recommend giving them to your infantry or anything like that. The game's not paused, by the way. The enemy should be coming at me, but after loading the save, they've completely dead stopped. We actually hold the high ground here. They need to get through this forest and attack us over here, where we're going to intercept them. And yeah, holding the high ground and stuff like that actually does give you a big advantage. Make sure you hold tab, by the way, to bring up info about your troops or anything in your city. Little pro tip there. Yeah, holding that lets you see pretty much everything in the game. Like, for example, that we can rebuild buildings here. Yeah, if you didn't know, you could actually rebuild buildings in Manor Lords in territories that you don't control. Once you take them over, there's actually ruins that you can rebuild on. And yeah, if you see here, yeah, we got ourselves a lot of info about the city and whatnot here. So yeah, experimenting with all sorts of gridirons, those work, and of course organic layouts, those work. Game is beautiful and wonderful in so many ways, but the economy also is something we got to talk about, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But anyway, going back to what I was mentioning about the military stuff in this final battle here, I certainly don't have enough troops to be able to defeat this guy. He's got way too many troops. My troops are well-trained, well-equipped, and all well and good, but there just simply is not enough of them. And even though we're holding the high ground, and even though we've got really highly trained units that are highly motivated, it's just not going to be enough. Now, at this point, well, let's go ahead and hire some more mercenaries then. But unfortunately, there's no mercenaries coming through this month. And there's a lot of confusion as to when you can hire mercenaries and whatnot. And a lot of people were saying after year 5, to which right now for us it's year 8, the enemy lord will permanently purchase some of the mercenaries and keep them in his essentially army the whole time, even though he doesn't have them on map. So this army, I guess, is bolstered by a few extra troops that only I could purchase before this battle, long before this battle. Either way, it's not fun that the infantry that we could choose from, or the infantry he could choose from for mercenaries, have to be purchased, and there's a limited number of them. That means somebody's going to have a huge advantage over the other one. And so if this guy was only able to call out half the force and I had double, or if he has the bigger force now, which he does, and is able to defeat me, it's kind of anticlimactic. If you know somebody's going to greatly outnumber someone else, I don't think any amount of tactics would be able to change the tide of this battle, so we would just simply have to wait for him to actually come through. In fact, look at this. I've loaded the save, and we're technically winning the battle. In 87 days, if he doesn't attack us, we win. And so technically, I guess we've just completed Manor Lords. So yeah, there's some weird victory condition stuff there, but there you go. So that's how it is. So we can keep our troops here for 90 days and hold the high ground and eventually claim the last territory, and that will wipe out the main game mode, the guy here, the lord in which we're fighting against in the north, in the restoring the peace game mode. Not reclaiming, but restoring the peace. Alright, let's talk a few more things about Manor Lords. I'm sure there's lots of questions, by the way, so please, please, please do me a big favor and ask your questions down below in the comment section. I cannot stress to you how important it is to me and Greg and everyone else who's a big fan of this game to have a huge list of all things that you may want to know or may be broken or may need a little bit of attention or tweaks first. Now, clearly, after 7 years of development, this game is really good, but it's not perfect, and it needs more time to become a good game. Hence the whole early access, 25% off until May 10th thing going on. And So here's the first thing that I want to discuss in Manor Lords. Many of you were asking, how do I make money in the game? And we'll go over that first, and then we'll go on to supply chain issues, which you may be having too, where requirements are not being met when you have a big enough town. So in this town, we've got a whopping 15,407 with a huge amount in the treasury, and just I've got everything everywhere. Like, all these numbers are just great. The approval could be better, but I don't know, that has a, well, we'll talk about that in a minute. There's a problem with that too. But anyway, when you're building a small city over here, like this one that's kind of just getting started. This is a tier like 2 or 3 village, I think. Yeah. Next will be actually a small town. So it's about to upgrade to tier 4. And for this town to grow, a few things need to be met for these buildings here, including the supply of ale, and we'll talk about that too. Yeah, there's a few other things that this city needs to grow, and in order to get some of these things, we need money. So one of the first things you need to do in order to generate regional wealth, which then can be taxed to create money in the treasury, which is like, think of it as state and federal level. This state here is generating money, and then the federal government can tax that income in order to generate its own wealth. Well, right here, we're importing some things at the trade post, and immediately what I think you should do is buy a horse as soon as you can, and then buy another one, and make sure that there's 2 listed here. If not, you'll have to click this little assign livestock worker. And if you do that, then you have a fully stocked trade post that can then import and export things as quickly as possible. So this has a capacity for food and for generic resources. So for example, you know, honey is a food and so is eggs, but planks, for example, is in the generic storage. So there's 2 different things here. There's kind of like inedible objects and objects that you can eat. Now, right now, we're exporting wooden parts, and this is a really good thing you should immediately do at the start of the game. If you take a look here for trade, there's a way on the left side where you can choose to trade stuff or not trade stuff. There's import, which will import things up to the number that you set here under desired surplus. You can also do the same opposite with export, or you can do a mix of both with full trade. Now, here under the trading options, you don't have to purchase a established trade route. This simply assigns a dedicated traveling merchant to come more frequently, so it'll make trades more frequent. So essentially, you need to think of yourself as starting out like a little baby bird or like a little baby seal. You need to start very, very small and do small incremental trades of things like planks, for example, which, by the way, I've oversaturated the market with. Supplies have been so huge of planks that it's knocked it down by half. Usually it's about 2, but right now I need to make money any way I can. So these 548 planks I need to convert to money, and so now it's being taken out via this horse here to the border, and I've kind of built it somewhere on the border too. Now, when you build your trade depot, it's a good idea to build it somewhere between your town and the border as you can. Like you could build it right at the border if you want to, like we kind of have here. The reason I built it there is it's pretty much halfway between the town, which is on the edge, and the border trade point, which is on the edge. But I think it's a good idea not to build it in your town, nor to build it at the border, but halfway between. And once you've done that, then immediately start trading planks and or anything else that is under the minor trades, just to get some sort of money going. So if you have a surplus of meat, whatever it takes to get a little bit of cash, do that. Now, your prices here will vary because, of course, I've been trading a little bit, and now the market fluctuates. But remember, we don't have to buy these established trade routes in order to make money. Just start small. Start again with things like maybe wooden parts, or maybe even, because they're broken for the time being, war bows, which again you'll have to work up to start trading. But your trade should be exponential, and eventually you need to unlock more. So again, start with planks, start with firewood, start with food, and then start unlocking big things like war bows, which is a 25 coin like fee for that. But here I've got a lot of large shields, so you see 146. So I'm going to unlock this trade route, which that before was locked because it's under the major trade routes tab. So there's minor trades, which are free. You can enhance them for a little bit of coin, or major trades, which can be unlocked. And then of course you can then export, and I only want to keep maybe like 20 of these for now, just to defend the town. So everything above 20 will be sold for 6 until it becomes more saturated, and then that price will change. So yeah, a lot of cool stuff here. The big problem though with trading posts is that you just at a certain point cannot import and cannot export enough stuff, and so you could build another trade depot and another trade depot and another trade depot, and you could build more storage things nearby and more hitching posts for more horses. And it just becomes insane. A massive amount of your city will be dedicated more to logistics than actually making things. Now, You might be wondering why some of my prices were a little different here too for trade. Like for example, all of these are at 25. For those of you looking to invest your trade points, or rather your dev points, trading is a good way to start. Down here is a great line to eventually start. And I think honestly, because Manor Lords is not yet really balanced for some of its prices for importing, exporting, etc., it's a good idea to try to use trade logistics and better deals to kind of bypass some of that. So your trade logistics will knock the price down to 25 for the unlock price, and then the better deals will basically wipe out the 10 import price. So essentially these items would have been a 10 coin more to import, like for example food. So right now we're importing let's say berries. This would have been 11, now it's just 1, and in order to increase that it's 25 rather than what it could be like at 125 or something, whatever the price may be. So that's a very good initial thing to do. Now, one thing also that a lot of people are having trouble with is supplying their taverns. Now, once you've got your trade depot up, you could certainly start importing ale, and in fact, that's honestly the best thing to do, because to start farming, it does take quite a people to do the beer supply trade, or the process of actually making it yourself, like actually manufacturing those goods. So to do it yourself, you would have to build a farm, then you would have to build a few barley fields, and then you would have to possibly go into maybe having your oxen do a little bit of plowing, and then you'll have to have a malt house, and then you'll have to have a brewer too, so you'll need to have a few houses upgraded to tier 2. And one of the things with the tavern is that it always is like almost always empty, no matter where you have it. My advice would be to build your tavern here when you're ready for it to upgrade houses from tier 2 to tier 3, somewhere near the actual source of the booze, right? So for the church, you know, God works in mysterious ways, right? No matter where you build your church in your town, people can reap the benefits of the church no matter where you put it within the region. You can put it in the opposite corner of the map, and if you put it up here, for example, the town, no matter where they are, will get the benefit of the church. But for the tavern, it's the same effect. However, the ale needs to be flowing from the tavern. So if you build your tavern like over by your trading post, and then you build a farm that then has a tier 2 burgage plot that has a brewery next to it, and then you also build your malt maker and your you know, all your storage and stuff, that might be a better way to supply the tavern. And because the range is unlimited for that, it will then checkmark the tavern supply for everybody. It's all about supply, not about distance for that, so keep that in mind. So yeah, build your tavern next to your trade post, build a farm there, and then import ale. It almost seems like no matter what your fertility is, which we have a really good amount of fertility here for stuff. Actually, it's another town that does, but there's some pretty good fertility up here for food. And even if we had the best fertility like this town does, yeah, up here, the big one I showed you, yeah, with the big fertility, this town, it can't even produce enough. Like, if I try to build multiple farm fields and try to produce enough ale for this town, no way. No way. So it might be good to diversify. It might be good to build one tavern down by your import, which we have a couple of trading posts here, and it might be a good idea to build another one near your farms, which we have over there, and try to maybe perhaps have them alternate on supplying the goods for everybody. Speaking of supplying the goods, look at this. We got a big problem. All these people are mad. They're not being supplied enough goods, and this is an issue that kind of goes along what I was mentioning about the taverns, where it takes a very long time for the taverns to get supplied too, because when somebody supplies the tavern, they literally have to walk to the trading post, and one at a time they're rolling over a barrel. They're not being transported by carts. They're actually being rolled all the way through this town here to the tavern. Now, I've been trying to experiment to see if building it closer will make any difference, and we'll see. But the tavern here, ironically enough, sometimes has enough food, or rather enough drink, and people will, for example, we have 3 breweries here. We'll be able to pull in the malted grain and stuff and deliver it right across the street. So I've got breweries that are making booze and transporting it right across the street. So the distance they have to travel isn't too far. See here? We got a lady that's pushing a barrel. I don't know why the hell she was down there. But anyway, it comes out of these houses and gets pushed across the street to the tavern, and that is a pretty short supply chain. So breweries across from the tavern and you know, across from the trade depot will help with that. But the biggest problem is supplying other things. So, for example, the house here is having trouble with food and clothing. And so now, here's where I got to ask a lot of you, what the hell is the solution to this situation? I feel like it's a case-by-case, town-by-town basis, depending on how you lay out your town. Now, clearly, we have multiple marketplaces. We have one here, we're building more here. And, I mean, they're everywhere. Marketplaces are everywhere. And I have an astronomical amount of people working in storehouses here. like we can even add more people to here, but eventually it's going to gobble up our whole town. And I'm trying not to like make that be the solution. I need copium, or I need some sort of other advice. There's got to be another way. But even over here, again, a large storehouse and another granary here, trying to sell food, trying to sell clothing, and yet it's not enough. Now the answer could be more, but how many more? Do I have to build more storehouses and then, of course, the marketplace will be built? Well, another solution to this is possibly moving these stalls around. We can actually click on these and move them around and move them to other locations, which might help distribution. It kind of works like a pulse or like a ping. If you think about, Vasily with the one ping only, Vasily, yeah, if you're sending out like a big blast in all directions, that seems to be how the markets work. They send out a ping, and then they try to fulfill the needs of all the buildings that are next to them first, right? So it makes sense. The Burgage Plot 3 here has every need that it needs fulfilled. It's got all the food, all the drink, all the everything that it could ever need, and so they're happy. But the house that's like literally just a couple houses down has nothing. So are they gobbling up all the food beforehand? How many more food stalls do we need? How many more markets do we need? There's one here, there's one here. Yeah, it's kind of frustrating. And so, with the 9 people that we have free, just more and more people that move in are just going to equal more and more supply. Now, the good news is I don't think this is making too big of a hit on the city. Right now we're at 68%. I'm not exactly sure why. But the church and the clothing are a good thing. But you can see here, lack of entertainment. That's the biggest problem. That's where it was, the ale supply. So, getting booze to the tavern, which I should build multiple ones, that might solution that. But more importantly, the food variety and stuff, it's not necessarily variety. It's really, the problem is none at all. So it's almost like we need to add more people to the granaries and also add more people to things like, for example, the hunting post, which also can do a little bit of sale too. Now, it's interesting. We've got ourselves 2 hunters here that are working. The wild animals are barely depleted, 17 out of 20. There's no meat here, but they all seem to be at this marketplace. So if we click on that, we can see that they're selling 2 carrots, and they're selling nothing else at this other one. Well, why the hell aren't they out gathering meat and bringing it back to the market, or at least bringing it to the granary? You'd think that once maybe the marketplace was full, or rather no, once the hunter was full, you'd think they'd be able to take those things to the granary and possibly help with sales, but they're not really doing much to contribute. So to bypass that, I went down the commerce line and started to import tons of meat, tons of vegetables. These are our surplus. This is more than what we need. And so if we look at our actual, you can see that pretty much we're hovering at around 100. I'm giving a lot to the church to try to generate influence to fight battles, but all this extra excess isn't like being delivered to the marketplaces, which is another interesting thing too about the marketplaces, where sometimes they get oversupplied and the supply will go bad at the market stall. Well, my opinion is things shouldn't be brought to a market stall unless it needs supply. And so things are going bad while they're in the market stall is unacceptable when there's room inside of the storehouse. And so there should be nothing going bad unless there's a lack of people gathering it. Like, for example, sometimes with these burgage plots, which, by the way, pro tip on the burgage plots for those who may be asking, the only lot size that matters in size is the actual vegetable plots. It's not the orchards or the brewery or anything else. No matter how big you make a yard with a chicken coop in it, it still has the same amount of chickens, and same with the brewery. Like, no matter how big you build it, it doesn't increase their capacity to make more. But when it comes to burgage plot size ones, it does matter. Size matters, boys, when it comes to the burgage plots, because with a tier 1 house, you can hold up to 25 in the general storage. But if you expand it with the secondary home, it can also go up to 37. So we have a little bit more storage here for the vegetables, but yet sometimes even with a granary nearby, which I think it's located somewhere right over here or something like that. It's nearby. I forget where the hell it is. I think it's right here. No, it's Clay Furnace. I don't know. There's one nearby. Regardless, no matter how many people I put into the granary, sometimes this just overflows, and the extra burgage plot at least adds a capacity to that, so remember that. But yeah, lots of good stuff happening for sure. But another question that I have for many of you is, if we build a burgage plot that is tier 3, and this was a good question you guys had as well, if we have multiple families in here, we have a burgage plot, tier 3, with an extension. There's a little extendo house onto it. So typically this would hold 2 families. Now it holds 4. If we make this building into, like, for example, a tailor, does that multiply how much it produces? There's no real way to tell per each building how much it's actually producing. So, and I can't split it either. There's kind of 2 families here living or whatnot, and I can't actually split the backyard into like a brewery and like a, I don't know, like a cobbler or something like that. It would be nice to be able to do that. And the other problem is, too, if a building is producing items, for example, here at the Fletcher shop, there's no way for us to change what that building is producing without deleting the building. Here we have 825 warbows. The market is completely saturated with warbows. I mean, I can't give these things away. It's ridiculous. But it is still at least worth something. I can get 825 coin from that. But in the meantime, I'd like to change what this burgage plot is doing. Well, I can pause it if I want to, but I don't get the workforce back. They don't become unassigned anymore. Nothing happens from that. Also, in order to change this to, like, for example, a joiner, which is somebody who makes shields, you know, we could take a look at one of these other burgage plots here. I'd like to convert this then to a joiner. I can make wooden parts here, which are worth some money, or small and large shields. I could diversify what I'm making out of wood and try to make some more money. Can't do it. Have to delete the Fletcher's shop and build it all over again. So that means we have to delete this building, wait for all these supplies to be taken away, all the rubble and stuff from the deconstruction site, and then I have to build another tier 1. Then I have to wait for it to have all of its needs met. Then I have to have another tier 2. By the way, I also have to wait for people to move back in. And then I have to, again, upgrade it to tier 2 or tier 3 and then rebuild the burgage plot 2 just to change the thing that it's doing in the backyard. So I think it should change in the future that buildings for artisans should be able to be demolished. Now, that is a thing in the game already, by the way. You can do that. These goat plots here, burgage plot tier 1 with goats in the backyard. Yeah, I can delete that with this button here if I want to, and then just convert it to chickens, for example. Takes a little bit of time for the construction, but there should be no reason why the backyard lot can't be changed. Maybe an added fee or something that's a little higher to retrain the peasants or something that's in there. But yeah, there's a lot of things to production that are just really weird, and I hope change in the future. But you know, it's not bad. It's just something that needs to be. You all need to accept the fact that you're not doing anything wrong. This is the biggest point of this video: is that the developer is doing the best they can, and this is a good starting point. And those of you who are trying to build a big city, if you're trying to make it look good and then you're trying to change the form of it to try to increase function, it's dysfunctional. Manor Lords is a very dysfunctional game, and that's totally okay. There are just some things that are just going to be bad. And again, it looks like the markets in the center of town are okay, but some of these houses here that live next to a market there, you know, every time somebody moves in, I have to dedicate somebody to work at a granary and a storehouse. And I don't want to do that. I wouldn't be surprised if you didn't want to do that either, because you want cool things to happen, like people working at the windmill. You want people working on your farmhouses and on your sheep farms, which is another thing. Here we go into another tutorial, kind of more of me just, you know, we need to talk about these things and or tips about these things. So here, you all have been asking about sheep now in the live streams, and I've gotten around to finally building a lovely little sheep farm here. We have ourselves a sheep farm. We also have a dedicated pasture for that sheep farm, and we also have all these farm fields upgraded so that way when they're in the year of follow, when they're basically just sitting idle, all these little sheepies can go around and eat to their heart's content. Now, these are all lambs, actually, which we've imported for a cheaper price, and lambs can't produce any sort of wool until they're mature into a actual sheep. Now, you can buy sheep right off the bat, but I just wanted to see how lambs would work, and I'm lousy with lambs. Look at the amount of lambs I got here. They're all on the lamb, too. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we got all these farm fields being taken up by them, but if I take a look at the farm, we are starting to... I actually have some sheep now. They've actually grown, but I only have one sheep. There's this one named Margath, whatever, and you know, she's hanging out behind the shed here. But where's all these other sheep? Aren't these sheep too? Well, they're lambs actually. But then where's their responsibility here for the sheep farm? Like, we do have, according to this, livestock lambs, but sorry, sheep. That's the only sheep apparently. But all these other ones apparently are lambs because they're not listed, but then where did the lambs go? You would think that the sheep farm would be able to take care of lambs and sheep, but that you don't get to reap the benefit of the sheep. Can't reap the sheep until the sheep become sheep from lambs. You see what I mean? So the wool can't be sheared in the months of December, by the way, according to the game's rules. In the lower right corner, it says sheep shearing is forbidden. Yeah, the sheep will be too cold and they'll die. You don't want that to happen. But the lambs and the sheep are two different things, but they're not calculated properly by the game. That's what I'm trying to say. Now, when it comes time to importing those, I have a little livestock trading post up here where I'm buying animals. First of all, I don't know how I got an ox here. I didn't order an ox. I don't know what happened. I've only ordered oxen through hitching posts, and apparently there's one here and he's stuck and nobody will come and rescue him. I don't know what's going on. I actually do have a hitching post here, but apparently one there. I guess that's just for other animals inside that lot. But yeah, I put one here so that way I could try to get more animals for oxen for plowing the farm. So that has nothing to do with it. So anyway, apparently I have 11 sheep, but I've ordered 30 lambs. Sorry, I have 8 sheep. So yeah, okay. So of the ones that I've ordered, I don't know how many were delivered. Let's say, well, I guess I don't know. I honestly don't know. Here's the problem too, right? I've got a development point here at this town that allows me to have sheep breeding. So I can't tell how many sheep have been delivered out of the 30 that I've ordered in comparison to how many sheep we have in comparison to how many have bred. So of the 30 that I've ordered, apparently we have 11, and 8 of those are now sheep. So does that mean I've gotten like 19 that were delivered and 8 of them became sheep or something like that? I don't know. I don't know how quickly they're breeding, and I can't keep track of these things. So of the livestock, I don't know who is responsible for the sheep now, except for one of them, and I don't know who's responsible for the lambs. But somehow magically, one of these sheep is being sheared, but it's only producing like, is that say 1 wool? Yeah, 1 out of 50. So I don't know. I really don't know. Now, a lot of you were also saying that the sheep work really well at fertility for the fields. Like if you have them graze on the fields, they'll raise their fertility. I'm experimenting with that here. This is supposed to be a barley field so I can make more beer, trying to solve that other problem. You know, vodka, tequila, beer, more beer, vodka, tequila. Yeah, whatever. Anyway, all I'm saying is that I don't know if this is going to affect the fields or not. I don't know if that's implemented. It should be. And look at this. Some of these fields are like, they look real dark. This field looks darker than here, but it could just be because of the crop inside there. Like, I don't know. Maybe it's the dark, like ground or whatever. But yeah, so there's wheat growing there. Cool. But yeah, I don't know. So sheep are still a mystery to me. We really need like Mythbusters or something going on for this game. And I hate to come to you with more questions than answers, but I do want to start the discussion. By the way, isn't that freaking beautiful, by the way? This game is incredibly beautiful. Like, look at this. That's ridiculous. I mean, pull over, Manor Lords. You're speeding. Look at that. Absolutely. Hold on, I had to take a live screenshot. Absolutely incredible. But, yeah, so those are the issues that I've discovered so far. I don't know how the hell sheep work. I'm having trouble with ale. I'm sure many of you are too. Requirements are not being met on a high-tier town, by the way. This one's maxed out completely, but yet the town that is very small, only a tier, 4 of 6, is having these problems too. A little bit of the start of the same problems. The problems here are relating to clothing supplies, so that is a problem that I can remedy because I'm not making shoes yet. Actually, I am making shoes, but maybe we don't have enough leather. Yeah, that's the problem. So I need to import more leather. So in the time that I've been talking, by the way, what were we at? 400 and something bucks here at this town. Now we're at 855. You can see the system's working. So what I need to do now is probably import more leather myself. I just basically bypass everything in this game in terms of production because we need so many people to do the thing. And honestly, I always feel like I need to have at least 10 people unassigned in the city. Here we have 22, but it's just because I've had a huge building boom. While I was fighting wars and stuff, I was building houses and haven't really had a chance yet to assign everybody to do a job. So definitely want to make sure we have more people trading. So we'll definitely make sure that we start importing some more leather just because it's easier. So we'll maybe put a full group of people in the tanner or something like that. So let's go ahead and at least import. And let's go ahead and try to solve that other problem. We'll import up to like 50. That'll be fine. So there we go. Now, another cheat in this game, by the way, something that might be a little bit of an exploit. Here's another pro tip, is that you can actually import crafting materials for clay for 1 coin. Check this out. You can import clay for 1, and then you can export roof tiles for 8. So you can make 7 coin basically per conversion. I don't know if it's a 1-to-1. I don't know if 1 clay equals 1 roof tile, but I could only assume that. Again, there's a real lack of production knowledge here. But that's basically what I'm trying to do here. Is I've already got 141 roof tiles here, and I'm mining a ton of clay. So if you happen to find a town with a deep deposit like this one here, yeah, you can actually go down the deep mining tier right here. This is another pro tip. You'll have to get charcoal burning first, but if you get deep mining, it will last forever. A rich deposit will forever be yours. It'll continuously create clay. Now, again, you might oversaturate the market and it'll go down to 1, but at least it's something where you can guarantee the income all the time. And remember, when you upgrade your burgage plots to Tier 2 and Tier 3, they also produce money. Tier 2, I think, produces 1. I think Tier 3 might produce 2. Correct me if I'm wrong. But also, I'm not sure if those produce more taxes per building. So going back over here, I don't know if because this is 2 on 1 plot, I don't know if they're actually producing, more than 1 or 2 or what the numbers are. If we take a look here, it says that a level 3 burgage plot will generate 2 regional wealth per family per month. Okay, so I guess that does answer that question. All right, my bad. So that means that this family here, or this house here, is producing 4 gold. Well, 4 families producing that gold or regional wealth per month. So that does answer that. Cool. All right, good. Something busted right there. Love it. Love bussin'. All right, cool. So yeah, we're gonna import more leather, more beer, more things like that, and then let's go ahead and export those roof tiles because that's gonna be genius. This is a great pro tip for all of you once you get up to the clay level. I mean, the great thing about these roof tiles too is that you can actually, let's go ahead and go down to maybe 60 on this one. You can then, with the money that you're making from this, import spears for 7. Yeah? So you're importing for 1 for the clay, you're exporting for 8, and then you can get the little leftovers for some spears. So you can at least defend yourself. So that's a great way to build an early military. Or really what you can do is maybe try to buy certain projects. I don't know if this works yet, but maybe you can buy and then sell. Like, for example, buy a bunch of spears. When the price goes up, then you hold on to them and then sell them later or something like that. But they will all fluctuate, and the fluctuations are all different. But it is cool. Yeah, very, very cool. How is the battle going? Oh, we might actually win this one. Let me put it on top speed then and see if we can actually, like, win the battle. Actually, I think we would. If this guy's not going to enter the circle, which you can get to by hovering over that magnifying glass, no chance. The guy's not going to win. By literally reloading the save, I've won a battle that I couldn't win before. So there's that. Also, another pro tip, remember when you leave for your military invasions of others, you could still be attacked by bandits if you have them turned on. So keep in mind that that could always be a thing where you could be attacked. So I've hired these worthless archers here who, again, still have the ability to melee attack. Like, they can fight in melee. Yeah, they're just kind of like local police or something like that for now. So good times. All right. I'm really, really happy to be able to share that information with you. I really am. Don't I sound happy? Cool. Guys, that is all the information I have for the time being about Manor Lords, but we need to talk. This game is great, and I think will only get better, but I want you to be know those things if you're thinking about getting this game, or if you have played this game. It ain't you, Chief. Like, I think everybody's really making some great cities and asking some really good questions, so just keep that in mind when you go to play Manor Lords. I got more tips, though. I got some other stuff I want to share with you all, so make sure you subscribe, turn on that notification bell, and come on back here for more in the future. We'll be featuring more gameplay, more live streams, and much more of Manor Lords, including many bigger cities and a whole completion of the map where we will conquer every territory. That's easy. And then building a big, beautiful city in each of them. That's hard. So anyway, I'll see you all next time. Thank you very much for watching. Wait a minute. Enemy unit spotted? Oh, God. No. No! Sir! Oh, it's over. It's over. Oh, it's over. If you want to see this battle, come on back. I'll put it up as a video. Don't forget to subscribe. Oh my God, it's over. It's so over.